Hello and welcome back to another episode with both of us. We're happy that you're tuning in and listening, even if that's your first one. That is no problem. Wherever you start is the perfect way to start. We would like to continue on the topic of feminine empowerment today. And because it's such a massive, huge topic, there's so many angles we can look at it. What I feel really called to speak about today and what we discussed before is this piece of why is it important that this feminine empowerment is still happening nowadays. And I personally would like to speak about my own experience here. Just today, I struggle a lot with the still upheld competition that I can feel a lot between women. This lack of support, this we are in competition of each other. I need to do it better than you and different than you. And this lack of basically just, yeah, of support is the big word. And I feel my soul is suffering and crying because of that. Because I think it's already been like 3 years that I've been feeling something new coming in, and this desire that we as women, especially, are supporting the fuck out of each other. I can't say it any other way. And I'm struggling to see that still nowadays, in a lot of ways, it is not happening. Um, yeah. So, yeah, what do you feel about that?
Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying. It's obviously something that I think that we all become aware of at some point. Especially as we are healing aspects of ourselves. We desire this community, we desire this oneness, this unity that we keep speaking about, and yet without the sisterhood, um, we can't actually fully empower the feminine. This is a problem that women have been pit against each other, whether it's for attention, affection, power. There's been like an ongoing thing between feminines. And I think the sisterhood wound that really started with the witch hunts, there's still a very, very big karmic imprint within us all collectively. And I think that's something that hinders that empowerment. I think sisterhood is so necessary. The sisters that I have come across, that I have found, that I have kept in my life, I have them with such honor and such gratitude because we have broken away from that. I think it's really necessary. We need to support each other. We need to feel supported, and personally, I went through something about 6 months ago where something blew up, and I had the option either to feel like I was going to be pit against another woman, or I could hear this woman out and I could try to see her side of the story, her perspective. In the end, it ended up being a bit of a narcissistic friendship, and I got out of it quickly. But I personally, I have been moving more towards this, giving that, as we say in Spanish, voto de confianza. No, it's a bit of a vow of, or a vote of trust, that we can achieve that. But unfortunately, I think that there isn't, in terms of who's for it and who's not for it. I think that the numbers are growing, but those of us who are for it, we still need to grow in that number, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's an important point there. I think maybe feminine empowerment actually starts, and one of the core pieces of it is the support in community, especially around women. First of all, like you say, we are healing the collective wound, the ancient generational collective wound we all hold. And second of all, it just, what I feel is like this piece, I see this image of like women standing in circle holding hands, and just this peace that exists without any words having to be spoken. And I deeply feel that my being desires this. And basically where this community or this is playing out a lot is, in for me especially, or I think for everyone, is social media. This we are, a lot of us are detached. We're working from home like you and me. So we are connected with others through virtual rooms and spaces. And I see this really, and that I think that's like kind of like the modern community ground where all of these wounds are playing out is, let's say Instagram is one of those, because Instagram is a platform where it's a lot about aesthetic and beauty, and I'm better than you. It's like this competition is just already in the field, and I wish it wouldn't be like that. Like for example, for me, it's really important that the women in my field, I support them as much as I can. So support in Instagram. And I mean, it sounds so basic, but at the same time, it's actually really profound. It's like, do I like the things my friends upload? Do I comment on it? Do I shower them with love and appreciation? Do I tell them you are gorgeous and beautiful and thank you for speaking your words? And I think this is really powerful what we can do for each other, because basically I see it in myself, and I also know that it's like that for many others out there. We still struggle with like having like speaking our words and showing our faces, because we as women have been suppressed for so long that it's still like very fragile to go out into the world. Just yesterday, I had a beautiful talk with a woman, and she said, being a woman, being a leader, being beautiful, and actually making money and being abundant, you're in a field where you're just struggling big time to actually be seen and not being judged. So it still is a very tense field, and therefore, one way for me to support each other would be to shower each other in gratitude and love. And I struggle when I see, especially my friends that I think we're deeply connected at the heart, if that doesn't happen. And it's just a very, very one-sided show, you know? This is like, it's like a change I want to see in the world that I'm playing out in a small field, and I'm just making an example here. And it's not happening. It brings me to points of frustration and sadness of like, how do we move forward where it doesn't even move in these small fields? Yeah.
That's, yeah. So a few things were coming through there. Like, first of all, obviously, I have found myself in the same situation, to have on my business Instagram, it's not that big, but almost 1,300, two or 300 followers. And my story gets shown to 140, 150 people. And that's because not even my friends are liking. It's as insignificant as a like, so that my algorithm actually does get my word out there. So that little insignificant support makes actually the world of difference, so that my voice can be heard. I think that, yeah, the first support does need to come from the closest ones to you. That's what the support group is, right? And then at the same time, what was also coming through was that, as long as there is that competition that you mentioned amongst women, we're not going to understand that the only way that we can rise collectively is if we support each other individually. My voice needs to be heard. Your voice needs to be heard. Juanita's voice needs to be heard. Francesca's voice needs to be heard. Do you know what I mean? So for that, we need to empower each other individually so that collectively we can rise. I think a lot of people are still yet to understand that what we do for self, we do for collective, and vice versa. Because in the end, it's all one unity. It's all one unit, one soul energy. So I think that that is a little piece that's missing for a lot of people, because if we had that consciousness, I think that we would be supporting each other much more, and you do. And I celebrate that so much. I do occasionally come across pages of women that are supporting the heck out of each other, or, these on threads. I'm looking for the girlies who, and you've got some threads that are just like seeing who'll follow them, but then you've actually got threads that are really engaging. So I do really celebrate that when I see it. Myself, I've made a few little connections that way. I think you really need to feel into that in the end. But anyway, yeah, I think that the key is understanding that until we actually celebrate each other individually as a collective, we won't rise. The feminine essence, I believe, is based in sisterhood. It's not based in hierarchy at all. And this is what I also believe about the priestesshood. Priestesshood, priestesses, for example, just going on the feminine energy again, priestesses, they used to be like sought out as oracles, right? For political decisions, anyway. So at some point in history, they were put on a pedestal. And I don't believe that this is where anyone is supposed to be, on a pedestal, a priestess, a sister, anyone. I think that it's really based in that sisterhood because, like I said, it's just to reaffirm individually we take part in a collective uprising, and for the divine feminine empowerment, I think that it's very necessary to realize that part.
Mm. Yeah, when you were speaking, the thing that came for me or was there present for me was this thing. So we actually stifle ourselves. And I think stifle is an English word, or did I just make it up? No, it is an English word.
Yes.
We stifle ourselves as a collective feminine, right? In the way where we don't support the individual to voice, to speak, because instead of supporting the individual voice, I actually get triggered, my shadows get activated. So what do? I shame this person, or I'm like, oh God, I don't want to see her content. She's just showing like she's just showing her life, and I'm actually jealous because I want to live a life like that. And that's sad because for me, a lot of the one of the biggest transformations I actually did in that, because I would say like 4 years ago, maybe 5, I noticed I was in that a lot as well. I saw women around me and I was like struggling when I saw what they achieved. I was like, oh, this, ugh. And then I was like, wait a second, what is going on here? Why am I judging them? Why am I acting jealous or envious? I was like, oh, wait, it's because I actually want to be like that. So what did I
Mm.
do? I saw it as an inspiration. I started following them. I started going on their website, looking into what kind of education did they do, what courses did they do, started writing it all down. I wrote like that was actually the beginning of 2019 or no, 2020. Wrote lists upon lists. And then I went through the list and was like, really, what of those courses actually resonated with me? Which ones are most important? And through that, I got the inspiration to start living my life like that too. So I think this is key. We are an inspiration. Like you are a bloody inspiration. I would say I'm an inspiration too. There's many women out there that are inspiration, no matter what you do. And that's another very important factor. I don't expect anyone having to follow similar paths. Like, I think the individual path that we can follow is actually way more profound and important. So it's about finding our own truth and following that. And if I see a woman that is following her truth, no matter what she decides to do, if she wants to be a stay-at-home mom, if she wants to be a lawyer, supporting spiritual communities and people, if she wants to, whatever, it's like find your core, like, what is it? Core, what
Interesting.
passion? Yeah, what is making you feel alive, and follow it? And how can I do anything else than support that woman when she does that? Because that's beautiful. And we need like everywhere. We need them. We need them everywhere, especially in politics. Saying that, I have to say that we need some more. I want some spiritual women in politics for
Um,
sure.
that would be amazing.
Would
That
be.
would definitely be amazing. Um, I completely understand what you're saying. And, as you were like developing that idea, you were hitting the nail on the head with a lot of things that I was thinking. It's that comparison that actually makes us, we do it to ourselves, that comparing our lives to someone else or comparing our light to someone else's light. It's like we forget sometimes, I think, that our ability to recognize that light in someone else is because we also hold it within. And so I think that we've been going about it in quite a distorted way of like trying to imitate instead of, like you said, that was a beautiful word, taking inspiration and finding out what flavors work for us. Like, yes, I've done some courses. I'm going into a new practitioner course now. But I want to say the majority of what I present and how I present myself is what I've channeled. It's from my own wisdom. And yes, that can serve as inspiration, but that can't be copied. And so I think that if we actually had a lot more self-confidence, self-value, self-love, we would be able to see that. I think that that comparison and that dragging other women down comes from the lack of that. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I can say that I recognize that also before I started all of this journey. I would see a certain lifestyle and I would think to myself, oh, it's just Instagram, they're only showing the good parts. And while that might possibly be true, because let's face it, Jen, what we do, the majority of the profiles of people that do similar things to what we do, they only show the glitter and the unicorn farts instead of the endless crying that we go through with the ego deaths and rebirths, you know. So yeah, it's just like that keeping up appearances, that it's a little bit confusing for a woman until she actually recognizes, you know, what I bring, what I have to offer is so powerful and it's just as valuable as the woman that I have next to me or in front of me or behind me. And just to serve as inspiration for each other and support for each other. So, so crucial, so crucial. But yeah, it's just like we were saying before, it just goes back to a very long collective karma that we are suffering, you know. I feel like sometimes I'm a bit of a one-track mind, but it really does go back to where monotheism was installed and the feminine was dethroned. If that wouldn't have happened, women wouldn't have started to compete with each other for the affection of a man because that meant that we were valuable, or so depending on the man, it meant that we were also powerful. We wouldn't be, you know, competing with each other professionally because we would recognize that there is a space. The feminine, I think, is inherently very wise. And even though we are navigating this collective karma, I do believe that this is why we desire this community, because we do have that innate wisdom within us that it's more about equality and unity, and that we should actually be supporting each other, that we should actually be uplifting each other, encouraging each other, because when one shines, we all shine. That's the way I see it anyway.
For sure. I'm all about the shininess. I got stuck with the shininess because that's basically everything that is in my desire. And it's not just a desire I have, it's actually something I see that would very likely be possible. Um, and I think both of us, we are desiring to build this community of like-minded people that
Yeah.
support each other. Um, and I also just saw like supporting each other is one thing, but you're actually able to get whatever you desire in this community itself. Just knowing that like, how beautiful. Every one of this woman is following her passion and is really aligned with it. And we can support each other also through this ego death, through this suffering, through this periods of heartache, heartbreak, of this period of like, I don't really know what I want to do. Okay, that's really important. Thank you that you're doing this, not just for me, but you're actually doing it for like the collective. So what about if you're just lying in bed for 3 days and we bring you food and we take care and we cuddle and hug you and tell you you're beautiful and you will get out of it? I'd rather like this, instead of what I often feel when I'm going through periods like that, and you do too. It feels like the world is actually putting more tension and pressure on you. It's like this voice that says, get your shit back together and get the fuck up right now, because you don't have time to sit around and moan. You don't have time to sit around and question the whole existence of everything, because time is money. And that's our world, right? It's like, oh my goodness. Like even when I speak it out, I get cringe feeling in my stomach and my voice is like, gosh, I don't even want to speak those words. But this is the unspoken words that are just like the frequency that is often playing out in our societies. And I'm like, oof, I want to tap out of it. And that's what both you and me have realized. Tapping out of this frequency, it's actually really like it takes a lot of courage. Takes a lot of emotions and it's really intense. It's like probably the biggest mountain I've climbed so far. Because at the moment, I would say there is still not enough people tapped into this frequency. So this frequency is quite weak. The frequency, I mean, of following your passion, the frequency of softness and ease and flow and follow your body's guided. It's still very small. So it feels like you need to actually work on upholding it. Even though the funny thing is, this frequency is actually the frequency of the earth. So if we're tapping into the earth, into our like Mother Gaia, this is her frequency. It's like follow the cycles, follow the seasons. Everything is equally important and needed. So we have created a frequency on top of it that is actually fake. doesn't function,
Mm,
going against nature. But this one is so strong because there is so many years, hundreds of years that it has been upheld. And there is a lot of really, really powerful, unfortunately powerful people, because in my opinion, those people are not powerful. I think you and me, we're the people that are powerful, and many others. But these people are upholding this tension. Let's call it the tension frequency so strongly that it's really intense to actually move into the other one.
for sure. Even though we have tapped into that, it's like still it's a cognitive dissonance. That's what I struggle with. I just finished or I'm finishing my moon now, and the first 2 days of my moon, I had like the days that I usually put together in the week to just flow feminine and create and this and that instead of working. And yeah, it was a cognitive dissonance to just be like, oh my God, I have this time now to do all of this, which is where I schedule my creativity. That sounded just that sounds like a cognitive dissonance in itself. But it's like I've scheduled in 7 days, I've scheduled work time, creative time, me time. Do you know what I mean? To be able to flow in my femininity. And it is a cognitive dissonance to have thought to myself over the first few days of my moon this time, I have all this time, I have to take care of this or take advantage of this time now, because otherwise I don't have it until next week this time. And my body was just saying, freaking go lie down, go cry for a little bit, cover yourself up to here, now have some chocolate, have a little cacao, stay warm, watch a movie, freaking have a nap. And we still fight with that because, like you said, it's been for so many hundreds of years, thousands even, that it's ingrained collectively, it's ingrained subconsciously, from generation, from whatever. And we're still fighting with that against our natural impulse, even though, you know, we have tapped into that and we're allowing our natural impulse to guide us. We have tapped into the wisdom of our bodies, and our cycles, but it is still a cognitive dissonance, and we still struggle with that. I think more mentally, you know, it's just like, no, I need to be productive. I need to do it now. I need. But what I actually need is to just listen to that voice that's saying, please just go have a nap and relax, because you're in one of your most potent days of your cycle. Just go, just stop it. Right, I think that's another thing about feminine empowerment. Until collectively we really do tap into that in a larger scale, because I mean there's 8 billion of us on this planet and rising. So obviously, even just like 1% of that is 8,000 people, so we can definitely go beyond saying that there's only 1% of us that do this. But until there is a exponentially grown amount of people that that do recognize this and do operate this way, I think that we need to give a little bit more voice and visibility to this so that collectively we can really step into that divine feminine empowerment.
100%, 100%. I think it is actually happening because I see it's accelerating. As we know, everything is accelerating right now, and it is accelerating. And you can feel them popping up like popcorns everywhere. But because there is not proper guidance, like we've discussed many times, you should hear our voice notes that we're sending each other or the phone calls we're having. We're having like phone calls about all of this. So we talked about this before, but we don't really have guidance. We don't really have role models. So a lot of people popping up everywhere, they're really confused. And then we have a lot of, let's call them wrong guidance. And then you step into that, and then 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, you're still like, wait, that doesn't work. I'm following someone else's impulses. I'm not following my own. So it's like this. It's the beauty. It is happening, but it's not the rightful paths are not yet laid out. And that sometimes feels like we're losing a lot of these popcorns that are popping.
Interesting. I think this is kind of what I was referring to in our last conversation about the topic, where I said, like, there's a lot of stuff that we need to unlearn. And it's so new, this whole empowerment, that, you know, most of what I think is coming through that is of value is actually channeled. I don't believe that regurgitating old teachings is going to get us anywhere new. I think it's just going to keep us stuck. So I think that a lot of what is coming through now that is channeled through these empowered feminines, I think that what's of value to tap into, if that makes sense. I do think that we have had this, like you said, these popcorns. I think that collectively there's a lot of popcorn popping at the moment because of this rise of the feminine, because we are here to bring back this wisdom. We've been operating a lot on truth. And I think that there's a distinction that we need to make. Truth is subjective, it's very personal. My truth is not your truth. We can have similarities in our truths, but it's not 100% the same. Wisdom, however, is universal. So I think that collectively, as feminines, what we are channeling is more of that universal wisdom so that we can get back to the original where the soul memory or this wasn't lost yet, so that we can get back there, but even, even better, because it is still forward movement. It's not going back, it's going forward with the ancient wisdom and taking it to newer heights.
Mm.
I think that this is what's truly of value, what's coming through. I was tying that into something else I said. I love how my channel sometimes just brings these beautiful things through, and then my mind wants to say, okay, but where was I going with it? It's like, just let the channel talk. But yeah, I mean, what I was saying last week, I was trying to tie it into that. It's something that we're still learning to navigate again. The ancient wisdom is coming back, but it's not fully landed yet, or it's landing slow, or it is landing with like people that have been in it for a lot longer. Um, and so, yes, learning from them, picking things up, very important. But I think that especially for the feminines right now, it's very important to tune into our own wisdom, to tune into our own channel, to bring more of that forward movement, and to really neutralize and redefine everything that we have been learning and healing, because I think that's a very important thing that we need to speak, or this is at least my truth. I feel like the era of healing and learning for the feminine is coming to an end, and this is now the era of the empowerment. Once the healing's been done, once or is at least underway, and the transmutation of all this collective karma and individual karma, then we can move into empowerment. I think that now is the time for individual empowerment, for that then collective empowerment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I'm just having like such a intense visual image that I'm like, it's hard to follow your words, but I know that whatever you're speaking is the truth. So the image that is coming up for me when you spoke before, I don't know at which point, it's like I see us standing there with shovels and like really removing the dirt. Like the sludge, the dirt, actually it also feels like some corpses, but it's like about that. We gotta remove the things, and it's like a
The
river wants to
distortion.
flow. You
Yeah.
know, the river just wants to flow. But we as humans, as a humanity, we have put so much shit into this river that it stopped flowing and became a toxic thing.
Mm,
And it's about us having to remove it, and that's really exhausting. It's really,
mm,
really exhausting, but you know what you're doing, the work you're doing is going to be so beneficial. And at one point, the river is going to be, you know how that is, like with a dam. At one point, the hole is going to be so big that the river just going to wash the rest away. So you just need to do the start, and
yeah.
then it will do it itself. But it does feel like doing this process. And in this process, that's again what I want to tie into what I spoke before. In this process, I also notice it myself, and I know you too. In this process, you sometimes lose hope. You're like, why am I even doing this? I've been doing this for like 2 or 3 years, shoveling this dirt out, and no one is giving me recognition. No one is patting me on the back. And that's why I'm tying in again. That's, in my opinion, what we can give each other as the feminine. This support
Mm,
of like, you're doing great. I see what you're doing. You're amazing. Continue. It's like, okay, I can do it one more shovel then. Okay, you're so good. Can I bring you some food? Okay, I can do more. I can do 10. It's like this. Like, so we can keep on continuing, because otherwise we will give up. And then new ones have to come and do it, and they give up. And that's not what it is supposed to be. Because if I stay and new ones are coming, it's gonna happen much faster. Yeah.
Okay, I have like contradictory things coming to me. I have yes to what you're saying. Yes, we do still need that support. We do enjoy the validation from each other. But at the same time, I'm hearing that that is a big, also like wound of self value, self worth, self acceptance, self love. So hearing these things, this is what I mean. That's where it's contradicting because it's like, it's a yes, but. So that leaves me now with the question of, see, these are the kinds of things that I question. Yes, I ask myself, what the heck is the point of all of this? Because you start to see all the cosmic jokes and you start to peel away all the layers of the cosmic joke, and you're just like, oh my God, okay, well, that's another layer on from under my feet. What am I standing on now? Do you know what I mean? And you question, what's the point of this all? Is there a point to it all? Is there a purpose? Is there a mission? What is this? Like you were saying before, are those of us that are on the spiritual path the ones that are delulu, or are the ones that are following like sheep the ones that are delulu? Like who is right? And there's no right and wrong in the end. There is just the subjective truth. My truth is I'm on this path. My truth is this is what my soul wants to do. My truth is this is what I have orchestrated for myself in this human experience. And I think that the more that I've sat in that truth, I've let go of that external validation. I definitely, like I said, I think the word I used was enjoy. I enjoy that support. I enjoy giving it to my sisters. I enjoy getting it from my sisters. I enjoy celebrating the shit out of each other. I think that a win for a sister is a win for me, is a win for all of us. I love sharing my wins also, because a win for me is a win for all of us. It's wins for my sisters. But I think that what's really got me through that, and just like, I think the way that I can tie this in is because, or through realizing, wanting to get to that point where it's that unity consciousness, where I can love myself, I can stop comparing, I can stop envying, I can stop thinking, oh, I want that life, why don't I have it? I can start working on building it for myself. And I can support myself and I can support sisters. I think that, yeah, I think now I'm understanding why that came through. For my brain, it was very dissonant, but I think I'm understanding now why that channel came through with those two separate, like as separate ideas. I think that's one of the wounds that we need to definitely work through collectively. It's not just, there's just so much for us. And yes, I get it. It's like another freaking shovel, another freaking shovel. How much freaking distortion is there in this well? How much do I have to keep freaking digging? But yeah, there's collective sisterhood wounds, there's collective worthiness wounds, it's an collective and individual. So it's shovel after shovel, and it's like, how much further? I feel like a little girl sometimes. Like, come on.
For sure, for sure. For me, this whole thing, I mean, you actually also wrapped it up in a way where I was like, for me, it's not a yes, but it's a yes and.
Mm,
No, it's like, yes, we need the support. And at the same time, I need to look into my own wounding, my individual wounding, because if I look into my individual wounding, work on my self-worth and self-love and everything, I'm also gonna support the collective. So I
yeah.
would say neither opposes the other. But at the same time, I have to say, we can really support each other in just giving this little bit of love. Like there is only so much self-worth I can do. We're still living as humans. We need our community. We need the others around us. It's very much proven that we don't thrive by ourselves. So we do need that pat on our back. And like knowing about that, for me, it's like, okay, it justifies that I want that. And it doesn't just make it an ego thing, but it actually makes it a thing of like, it is part of my human existence in this human body. It's just this thing of like, I can feel, okay, good. So I think it's both. And I do think it's important to say there that it's also very important, but I don't think either of us will get lost in that, is that we can't just depend on the outside support. We do need to look at our own things. That's very crucial. That's like the base of everything.
Yeah.
But I think both together, that's the key for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I definitely think that's definitely key. The balance, again, it's just balance. I think that yeah, I think it's just really that unity consciousness. It's so much about the self, but it's so much about the unity. And I think that for me really illuminates when I realize that I am source. I am you. You are me. It's not just, or it's not anything outside of us. This is why I think it feels more natural for us to move in community, because we are all one. And it's like, I feel like this concept is like a blanket concept that's thrown around a lot. And I think that some understandings are quite, I don't know if the word I want to use is shallow, but yeah, it's just quite superficial, blanket, right? For me, realizing that I was one, my first Satori moment was a moment on my couch after having some psilocybin, and just having this vivid image of this portal opening in my heart and engulfing slowly my sister that was on the sofa next to me, the cat, the house, the island, Europe, the world. And then it started to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I started to see the other planets, and I started to see the whole solar system. I started to see other universe galaxies. And I realized that it literally is all one. Now, this was 3, 4 years ago. And I keep having these moments of Satori until I literally realized, or samadhi, whatever you want to call it. I mean, I know they're different maybe in definition, but I think they all kind of mean the same. These moments of realization, they really come through that it's literally like, this pen is made of the same thing as me and you. It's made of atoms. It's literally made of the same one energy. And we all inherit the one consciousness. That is how we are able to tap into consciousness. The only thing that is individual is the ego. It's the rational mind, it's the filter. So I just take it back to that unity. And I think that that's why we crave that community, because it's what is natural for us. It's our natural state. We come from the one. We are one. That's why I don't think that we can actually thrive if we stay solely individual.
Yeah, we create
That's what I
separation,
want to get.
even though it's not natural for us, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Separation from
Exactly. Definitely.
from ourselves. We actually create separation from ourselves as well, with others around us, with the collective, with the bigger, with everything. Separation, separation, separation. And it makes us really unhappy. And we have become a society of separation. But anyway, that's going into a different topic now. And I think we could wrap it up here. Do you have some last words?
No, I think that that's probably a good place to leave it, because otherwise I will definitely go into unity consciousness. I can feel it coming. So yeah, I think that that's probably a good place to leave this one today. I think we definitely honed in a little bit closer on at least one angle of it. And I'm excited to see what other angles come out of this feminine empowerment. I think that this is very aligned for us divine feminines to be talking about. So yeah, I think that if I end it with anything, I would probably just like to invite any of our listeners or viewers to, you know what? Let's start a little support system, Jen. Let's invite our viewers and our listeners to follow, subscribe, to add their little Instagram or whatever they'd like. I'll give a follow. Let's give some shout outs. Let's support each other. Let's uplift each other. Let's create this beautiful community that you and I keep envisioning.
For sure. I'm all in for that. I agree. Yes, if you follow us, then we will follow you back and we give you some support, because I think we all need it and desire it. And we all thrive in it, as we've learned now. So thank you so much for tuning in and listening and trusting in our words, as we also trust in your words and we all trust in each other's words, if they are following the divine order. So thank you so much and see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.